Can you really find a multifamily for half off by Gonzaga University, a highly sought after area? Yes, you can. And by the way, this DanCan Musing at the end of this show is going to be legendary. So stay tuned to find out more about the multifamily by Gonzaga University for half off.
Most people chase success. Few build it on a foundation that lasts. On The Invested Life with DanCan, we explore the intersection of faith, business, and personal growth, helping you invest in what matters most. This is your space to protect, provide, and promote with purpose. Join us now and start building a life you truly love.
Hi, I'm DanCan. Welcome to the Invested Life podcast. What an amazing show we have planned for you today. This show is going to be about multifamily. It is going to be about double-digit returns. On the Invested Life, we do this. We invest in ourselves, others, and real estate. We also invest in businesses. The two businesses that I love to talk about and I love to invest in are real estate and insurance. Those are my two jams. Today's show is full of stories and unbelievable numbers. As you know, multifamily is highly sought after, specifically here in Washington State, because the median price of homes has radically increased since COVID, which unfortunately has kind of pushed some people out of the buying market, but brought a lot of people into the rental market. A lot of investors love investing by universities. And here's the simple reason why. A, there's a continual supply of people that need to rent. What that looks like is parents are paying for the rent, but then also the federal government is paying for the rent because a lot of these young men and women are on financial aid. And so there's just this huge desire for multifamily. I know you've heard the stories about large apartment complexes and multifamily and most recently, but this multifamily is actually a duplex. And I cannot wait to tell you about this property. So, this property I looked at actually 4 months ago, and I just closed on it last week. I didn't want to mention it in the other podcast because the deal was so good. And I'm not a superstitious person, but I didn't want to talk about it until I had got it across the finish line. I actually looked at this property 4 months ago, and it was a wholesaler in town who had contacted me, and I've bought three properties from this gentleman before over the last 7 years. And we went and walked the property. It is literally right by Gonzaga University. It's a high rent area. You can walk to university. I mean, you can walk to coffee shops, bus lines, like all the things that you want for a rental. Well, the seller wanted a little too much. And the investors, my job is to protect their capital. The margin of safety as you make your money on the buy. I know I say that every episode, but it's just the truth. And so I walked the property, and it's a large duplex. The seller actually inherited it from his father, who had most recently passed away. He wanted nothing to do with this. This property needs a lot of work, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit. Walking this property was quite the event. I have walked a lot of properties, and you kind of get used to the smell, you get used to animals and all this other great stuff. But this was a unique feature that occurred on this one that I have never done before, and I hope doesn't happen again. We're walking the property, all this other great stuff. We go downstairs, and the basement is very dirty, very much like something happened here. And there was all this like white kind of like mold type on the basement floor. We're walking on the basement floor, and I kind of noticed that, wait a minute, that's not normal mold. And what had happened, unfortunately, is the sewer line, the cap had cracked, spilled over. We were actually walking on human feces, which is just disgusting. I quickly walked out, and I quickly threw those shoes away. When I got home, bye bye shoes, no longer the zapatos. I got rid of those things. And at that point, I'm like, I don't like this house. So I told the wholesaler, hey, listen, the price is too much. We can't move on this thing. I had to throw away some shoes. I'm down 2 shoes. And so then 3 months later, I get a phone call from a different wholesaler who wanted me to look at this multifamily by Gonzaga. I, of course, know which property it is, but I played dumb. So I go down there, walk the property again. And at this point, I'm talking to the wholesaler, and I was like, hey, listen, his price is just too high. He's got to come down on it. So he did come down a little bit. He did come down a little bit. So we're moving forward with this. And then one of the benefits about being patient is you get to learn things. And like I said, my real estate partner and I, we've been flipping homes since 1996. We're going to sell, flip 40 to 50 homes a year. So we get a lot of reps. And I know that there's a sewer problem. I also am a little concerned about the foundation, but not too much. And so, in our offer to protect my investors, I said, hey, I want to do a sewer scope inspection, and I also want to do a foundation inspection. We do those, they come back, and I just give the facts to the seller, who I've met now and talked to twice, building rapport, and he knows that I'm a real buyer. And I just said, hey, listen, I got to repair the sewer line, obviously. And I also need to do some work on a little bit of this foundation. It wasn't too bad. So I said, listen, you got to take at least 13 grand off. Lo and behold, because we were patient, he did. So here are the numbers. If you got a journal, like write this down. This is crazy. Okay. The tax assessed value of this multifamily in the Gonzaga district is 450. So $450,000. I bought this for $227,000. Those are good margins of safety for our investors. Now, in addition, it needs $100,000 worth of work. It needs a new roof, it needs a sewer line. We're going to gut the whole thing. All okay, because at 330, that's going to bump the market value of the home to about 500 to 510. But the deal gets better, people. Every investor, every business owner wants to know about exit strategies. Here's the exit strategy on this. I actually have a university, not Gonzaga, a different university that's actually closer to the property that is ready and willing to sign a 5-year lease to house their students in. Here's the beauty of that. When you do a lease with a university, your lease or contract is with a corporation, not a tenant. So we bypass all these really strict Washington tenant laws. The beauty about this university is that they do an interior and an exterior inspection each month. That means they also do the light maintenance. So think about this. I bought this property for 227. I'm going to put at least 100,000 into it, which is 327. I'm going to sign a 5-year lease with an institution that's going to do the light maintenance and inspect the property inside and out. I mean, there's so many wins going on this property. I don't even know what to do. I want to sing that song, win, 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 no matter what. And so I am just ecstatic. My investors are going to make double-digit returns on this property, 10% simple interest. They're going to get paid each and every month. I'm going to pay them for the first year, obviously, but then at that point, the university is going to house 5 to 8, maybe 9 students in there. They're going to sign a 5-year lease. The other wonderful thing about this is that the community wins as well. And this is why the community is going to win. This house is tired. It has broken windows. You know the jam. It has fading paint. We're going to put a brand new roof on this thing. We're going to paint, replace the windows. We're going to beautify the yard. I want to take out the chain link fence and put up a 6-foot cedar fence. I mean, we are going to do some fantastic things that's going to improve the property. I mentioned this before, and I want to mention it again. Every time that we flip and sell a home, we generate anywhere from 60 to $150,000 of top line revenue in sales, which generate taxes. And those taxes go to first responders, they go to education, they go to the general fund, they go to help society. And that's what's so great about partnering with me at the Invested Life is we get to invest, like I said, in ourselves, others, businesses, real estate. all these wins. So who's winning? My investor's winning. Dan's winning. The seller won. The wholesaler won. The community's going to win because they're going to get a fantastic house. And the university is an amazing university. And they're going to have, like I said, 6 to 9 students in there. What a deal. Look at the margins. I mean, that's like after repair value and then the ARV, which is after repair value and what we're in it. There's about a 40% margin of safety for our investors. If this is something that you're interested in and you want to hear more about these stories, I come across deals like this all the time. And look at my website. It is investwithdancan.com. investwithdancan.com. You can sign up for a webinar. It will go into greater detail about all the sources in which we find these properties. I get asked this a lot. I look at anywhere from 2 to 9 properties a week. I walk 1 to 3, and we usually purchase one. So I'm buying 3 to 4 properties every 40, 60 days. My real estate partner is buying, I would say, 4 to 9 properties every 40 days. And we just closed on a house today, which was a different house. This one I shared with you, where my son sourced that for us at a golf course. How fun is that? Hey, I'm excited that you heard that story. As you can tell, I can't stop smiling. I really, really can't wait to see what my crew does when they remodel this, renovate it. It's going to look great. Everybody wins. After this break, I'm going to give a DanCan Musings of the ages.
Tired of missing real estate deals because you were waiting for the bank to approve your funding? At Wave Capital Investing, we get you funded fast with flexible terms and a streamlined process. No red tape, no stress. Apply today at wavecapitallending.com and ride the wave to your next successful real estate investment.
Welcome back. As many of you know, when I first graduated from college, I was a 4th grade teacher, and I loved it. I loved teaching. I met my wife at church, and our debt to income wasn't the best, so I had to go into sales to provide for my family, which I gladly did. It was very hard to leave teaching, but I wanted to start a family, and so that's what I had to do. Found out I was pretty okay at selling. Well, thankfully, because of a mentor, I got a sales job working for a startup marketing company. Now, if you have ever started a business, you know what it's like when you first start. Well, we had one customer, and I did automotive marketing. So I was calling general managers of car dealerships all over the country. It was brutal. I would do 80 to 110 cold calls a day, and I would start on the East Coast in the morning, and then I'd make my way to the West Coast, and then after lunch, I would start calling the East Coast again. It was hard. After a while, we started getting some customers, and that's another story about how that happened. And I got into a really large dealer group, and they had a lot of dealers in West Texas. And so we grew. I was starting to build a sales team, so I hired this guy, and I was going to be the sales manager. We went to West Texas for 3 days. I don't know if you've ever been to West Texas, but I'm pretty sure that they believe they're the 51st state. That is no lie. It is a little different out there. And so we spent 3 days there, met with customers, new customers. I've trained this gentleman. And then we had to go to Reno to stop in to say hi to one of our really great customers. It was Lexus of Reno. And so I call our general manager and I make a request. And I said, hey, I would really love to take this general manager out to lunch. He has done a lot of promotions with us. He's referring us. Like, I'd really love to take him. And the general manager, who was a great guy, was like, well, things are a little tight right now. And, we're already paying for this trip. We just hired this other guy. Okay, but please don't spend a lot of money. I said, no problem. Now I'm a sales guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm gonna take this guy out to lunch. He's gonna refer us 3 to 5 times. Like, okay. But it was really weighing on my heart and mind of like, I want to honor my general manager. I want to keep the budget down. So we fly into Reno. You gotta remember, I'm tired. We go straight to the Lexus store. So it's me, my trainee, and then this gentleman who's the general manager. So I walk in and say, hey, I've never met him before, right? And this is before Zoom and all that stuff, because this is like 2003. So I like, hey, I'm Dan from Vision. That was the name of the company. He's like, hey, we shake hands, bro hug, all this stuff. Well, we always talked about football because he was a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, probably still is, and I'm a huge Seahawks fan. So we're talking about the Hawks and the Eagles and all this other stuff, and he's from Philly, and Philly fans kind of have a aura, and he definitely had that. Well, then he's like, hey, this is my sales manager, Scott. Scott, hey, this is a Hawks fan. You guys, hey, Scott, come to lunch with us. And I'm like, oh, I can't tell the customer no. And so I was like, yeah, Scott, come to lunch with us. So we get in the car, and I'm kind of already sweating bullets because it's like, oh man, we just increased it by 25-30% at least. And so I'm trying to think of like, what is a good place to go to lunch? I mean, he's a general manager of a high-end Lexus store. We're not going to go to McDonald's. But I don't know Reno. And so this gentleman, the general manager, he says, well, hey, I know this really great sushi place. My heart just sinks. I mean, right to my stomach. I'm like, 4 people sushi, really? And he just is on fire about going to the sushi place. Well, now I don't know. The Bible says not to be anxious about anything, but I was 100% anxious. And it says to pray, and I wasn't praying. I was lamenting. And I was thinking, like, I'm going to have to cover half this bill out of one of my checks. And so we go to the sushi place. The gentleman that I'm training, he knows that we're on a budget. I shared with him, hey, we got to keep it light. We get to the sushi place, and I really didn't know a lot about sushi at this point. My palate wasn't as sophisticated as it is today. So I'm sitting there, and we're at this sushi bar, and I'm never going to forget this ever in my life. I'm at the far right. My trainee guy's to the left, and then the 2 car guys are to his left. And I'm sweating. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So they hand out the menus, and I peruse the prices, and I'm like, this is gonna stink. Well, we start ordering food. Well, I order like 1 roll because it's like I can control this. I can't really control the other 2 car guys. Well, my trainee, he orders like 3 rolls. And I'm like, what are you doing, bud? And then the other 2 gentlemen, they order like 2-3 rolls. And I'm like, I do the mental math. I'm like, we're at 120 already. And then the lady's like, hey, would you like drinks? And I'm like, no, I'm okay with water. My trainee's like, yeah, I'll have a Dr. Pepper. The other guy said, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another $15. And so we keep going. And I'll never forget this. On the TV was the British Open. So I'm watching the British Open, Ernie Els, all these guys, and I'm like, I'm dead. I'm dead. My general manager's going to kill me. So she comes back. The rolls are done. I've had like my 1 roll. And she asks, would you like some more? And they're like, yeah. So they order another 2. And I'm like, we're at $300. I mean, I know right now we're at $300. And so I'm freaking out. I don't know anything about sushi in my life, right? So I'm like, well, I might as well get another roll. So I get another roll. And there's this little green blob deal, right? And if you've seen Cars, it kind of looks like ice cream, I guess. This is before Cars came out. And I'm looking at this deal, and I'm like, hey, that looks good. So true story. I put like 3/4 of this wasabi on 1 little roll slice. I put it in my mouth, and I go berserk. Like my eyes start watering, like I'm crying like crazy. Like I can't get this out of my mouth fast enough. Well, thankfully, somebody in the British Open just made this radical shot. So everyone's hooting and hollering. I'm crying, and I'll never forget, I had my napkin, and I'm trying to like get my tears done, and I can't get the taste out of my mouth. It was so bad. And I'm like, this is the worst lunch of my life. And so finally get that done. They stop ordering, and I'm looking at my trainee like, dude, you just let me down. Like you threw me under the bus. The general manager is gonna kill me. So the woman comes back with the bill, and I'm like, 1, please. She comes back with the bill. She hands me the bill. I look at it, and I go, no, ma'am, all of us. And English was the second language for her. And she kind of nods and smiles. And, of course, I'm now going to be the dumb American. And I start saying it louder and slower, like she's going to understand. I'm like, no, ma'am, all of us. How bad is that, right? And she's smiling at me like, yeah, all of us. It was like $85. And I'm like, $85, like that's my bill, probably not everyone else. And she's like, yeah, $85. And I'm like, Okay, you're lost, So I throw out my card. I go, I sign, I gave her a big old tip. Walking out, there was a sign that said, all you can eat sushi, 19.99. Why'd I tell you this? Details matter. You got to pay attention. I was so wrapped up in four people going to lunch. I was so wrapped up in sushi and how expensive it was. I wasn't able to see the opportunity in front of me, right? So the message here is details are important. I gave obviously a DanCan Musings about, hey, when you have an obstacle, when you're going up a hill, hi hill, nice to meet you. I was not there, right? I was trapped in anxiety. I was trapped in worry for no reason. It was 20 bucks. I could have had 3, 4 more rolls. I could have had 5 more Dr. Peppers, but I didn't because I wasn't paying attention. So that's the DanCan Musings, right? Details are important. Stay away from anxiety, all the good things. When we come back, I'm going to wrap it all together.
One accident can change everything. Are you covered? At DanCan Insurance Agency in Spokane, we protect what matters most: your family, your car, your peace of mind. Get a free quote in a timely fashion. DanCan, because you can count on us. DanCan Insurance Agency specializes in auto, home, motorcycles, and life insurance. Call us today at 509-328-1422.
Hey, I have a rule on the Invested Life podcast. I have to say DanCan at least 15 times. So I think I got to do it at least 3 more times. Obviously, you see my neon sign back there. Can you really find multifamily in the Gonzaga district at 50% of value? Yes, yes, you can. How can you do that? By relationships, by marketing, sugar and carbs, giving out donuts and coffees and giving tickets to Gonzaga basketball games. Investwithdancan.com. It'll tell you more about what we do. This is what's so good about this duplex. It's going to look beautiful. In addition to that, the community is going to have a fantastic house that shines and represents that area well. The exit strategy is so great here. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold this property, and in 5 years, I want to pay it off. So I'll have a paid off property, and I will have a corporate 5-year lease where they're inspecting the property once a month, interior and exterior. One of the reasons why we do so well on this is I actually own a general contracting company. So we have 2 crews. So we do our own work. That takes out anywhere from 25 to 40% of cost because that's oftentimes the markup that other general contractors do. I have fantastic subs that we keep very, very busy that we treat like $1,000,000. And when they submit an invoice, we pay them immediately because we want them to pick up the phone when we call. I have created a community of success. If you want to join that community, I would sure love to have a conversation with you. I gave you a fun DanCan musings about details and being wrapped up in anxiety. Have you ever been anxious? Have you ever been on a hill? Yeah, of course. So details are important. Stay away from large amount of wasabi. I am so thankful that you listened to the end of this podcast. I have 5 books that I believe have major impact, and that's what this podcast is about, impact. If you want to get that list of the 5 books of impact, just email me at dancan@wavecapital.com, dancan@wavecapital.com. In the subject, you can put impact, you can put impact books, and I will send you that link. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, DanCan listeners, love well and do good.